Good day everyone. Today we will be discussing class Aves, commonly known as birds. Birds are a group of warm-blooded vertebrates characterized by the presence of feathers, wings, and beaks. They are also unique among animals because most species are capable of flight, although some are flightless. In this presentation, we will explore the general characteristics, classification, and major organ system of birds and understand how these adaptations contribute to their success as one of the most diverse and widespread groups of vertebrates.
The class Aves, or people may also know as birds, belongs to the phylum Chordata of the animal kingdom and can be classified as warm-blood vertebrates with their unique features like their toothless jaws and can lay egg with hard shells unlike other classes. The class Aves have the ability to fly with their specialized forelimbs, though some animals na included sa class Aves has no ability to fly like ostriches and penguins. Yung class Avis is also has a lot to offer in our ecosystem like pollination that transfers pollen as they feed on the nectar so that they can help the plants reproduce. Another thing na nakakatulong sa atin or sa ecosystem natin is nagko-consume sila ng mga pests and insects para ma-check nila yung population ng mga insects at also to avoid the insects or pests na kainin yung mga crops or ma-damage ang mga crops at yung mga sa forest dahil doon para ma-ensure natin na maayos ang health ng mga plants and also yung food system natin is hindi mahulok or masira ganon.
I know you know that there are people who believe that birds are dinosaurs and they just evolve and become what they are now in modern generation. Now let's have a further discussion if this statement is true. Starting with its root, the origin. So, origin from theropod dinosaurs. In 1861, a fossilized flying animal was found. It was a vertebrate. Fossils found in a slate quarry in Bavaria, Germany. It has the size of a pigeon that lived in Jurassic period approximately 147 million years ago or about 150 million years ago. But the fossils has no complete head preserved. Then the fossilized animal was named. They call it Archaeopteryx, for it was an ancient bird. In other books, the animals was named Archaeopteryx lithographica, meaning ancient wing inscribed in stone. Now, in 1867, 6 years later, a complete fossil was discovered. This reveals the structure of the animal's head. It reveals the teeth in beak-like jaws. Next is the physical structure of the fossilized animal. They have a long reptilian tail, clawed fingers, feathers on the tail, short rounded wings, teeth and beak-like jaws. This bony teeth on the animal was set in sockets like those in dinosaurs. That's why they say that birds rooted from dinosaurs. They also have elongated mobile S shaped neck, just like in what we see in our most birds that have long neck, that the shape of their necks are like S shape. Now the discovery led to the relationship of birds to theropod dinosaurs. Then later on, a zoologist named Thomas Henry Huxley classified birds with a group of dinosaurs called theropods. Next is the evolution of feathers and flight. Other zoologists note that the hind limb structure of the earliest birds suggests that they may have been bipedal, so meaning they are running and hopping along the ground. So birds back then are like some of the birds in this modern day. Kaya na lamang ng ostrich, ng emu. Kasi diba, malalaki yung mga ibon na yun. Tapos, their size, sa size nila na ganun is hindi sila nakakalipad. Tapos, kung mapapansin natin, yung karamihan sa mga lumilipad na ibon is maliliit. Their wings may have function in batting flying insects out of the air or in trapping insects and other prey against the ground. So, ginagamit nila yung pakpak nila para manghuli ng pagkain. The wings also allow flight over short distances. This also somewhat points to our chicken kasi 'di ba, yung mga manok natin, they have wings and yet they only use it for short distance flight. Kunwari, punta sila sa puno kasi doon sila natutulog. So, feathers of dinosaurs were not used for flight because they were arranged symmetrically. Later, feathers were accepted for powered flight. The word accepted means they have evolved. Now, some birds' feathers have other purposes. They provide thermoregulation or eclipses and are used in courting. Example for this is our peacock and other birds. I forgot the name, but some birds like peacock, they use their feathers to court female birds for mating. Moving on, the fossil evidence. So, fossil in Bavaria, Germany, the animal found that they have a beak like jaws that has a small bony teeth set in a socket. Well, birds do have a beak like jaw, diba? Merong beak like jaw yung mga ibon natin. Although, wala silang ngipin because it was stated that they have evolved. Next is the fossil found in Liaoning province in China. There were remnants of filaments and feathers. Although the animal could not fly, this discovery suggests that birds before could not fly, but they hop, jump, and can temporarily take flight in short distances. Next is the fossils from Spain and Argentina. The fossil in this place was documented. The experts here have documented their analysis of the fossil found. They have observed that there were development of gilled sternum and alula. So, the sternum is located on the chest part of the bird, and alula is the specialized structure of the upper edge of the bird's wings. There is also loss of teeth and fusion of bones. This is why birds from before doesn't look similar to those on this modern day, because there were loss of teeth and there's also a fusion of bones.
Now, we will discuss about the general anatomy and adaptation of birds. Birds possess specialized structures and adaptations that enable them to survive and function efficiently, particularly for flight. Ibig sabihin po, yung body nila is designed talaga para makalipad and makapag-adapt sa environment nila. For this topic, we will focus on 4 main parts. First is their body structures. Second is feathers and their functions. Third is wings and flight mechanics. And lastly is beak adaptations based on their diet. So let's talk about first about the body structures of birds. Birds have special body structures that help them fly efficiently. Their bones are lightweight and hollow bones, kaya mas magaan yung katawan nila na nakakatulong para mas mapadali yung lipad nila. At the same time, many of their bones are fused together or magkakadikit, which makes their body more stable and strong during flight. Mayroon din silang air spaces inside the bones na lalo pang nagpapababa ng body weight nila. Because of these adaptations, mas madali para sa birds na lumipad while still maintaining strength and balance. Next is feathers and their functions. Alam niyo ba na birds are the only animal na may feathers? Their feathers are made of keratin, lightweight but strong. These feathers are important for their survival. They help birds fly and also keep their body warm by trapping air. Bukod dito, feathers protect them from water and help streamline their body para mas efficient yung movement nila in the air. Ginagamit nila ito for communication like attracting mates or showing signals to other birds. Third is wings and flight mechanics. So, paano nga ba nakakalipad ang birds? Siyempre, alam mo naman natin na nakakalipad sila through their wings. Kasi yung wings nila are designed to create lift and thrust, which help them rise and move forward sa hangin. This is based on aerodynamic principle, yung sa airplane, or kung paano gumagalaw ang hangin around an object. Kapag gumagalaw yung wings, mas mabilis yung hangin sa ibabaw kaysa sa ilalim. Dahil dito, mas mababa yung pressure sa taas at mas mataas sa ibaba. Kaya natutulak pataas yung bird. And at the same time, their strong chest muscles, especially the pectoralis and supracoracoideus, provide the power for flight. The pectoralis helps push the wings downward, while the supracoracoideus helps lift the wings upward. And here are the 4 basic forms of bird wings. First is the elliptical wings. These wings are short and broad, which makes birds very maneuverable. Ibig sabihin, kaya nilang mag-turn quickly, especially sa forest. Mayroon din silang alula at wing slots that help prevent stalling during slow flight. Second is the high-speed wings. These wings are long, narrow, and swept back. Designed sila for fast and long-distance flight. However, hindi sila effective sa mabagal na flight kasi wala silang wing slots for extra lift. Third is the active soaring wings. These are long and narrow wings used by ocean birds. Ginagamit nila ang wind current over the ocean para makalipad ng matagal without flapping much. This is called dynamic soaring. And lastly is the passive soaring wings. These wings are broad and have slats and alula. Nakakatulong ito para makagawa ng lift even at low speeds. Common ito sa birds of prey like eagles and hawks na nagaglide sa air currents over land. So basically, ang pinagkakaiba nilang apat is yung elliptical is for maneuverability, yung high speed is for speed, yung active soaring is for ocean plus wind, and yung passive soaring is for land plus gliding. Lastly is the beak adaptations. Ang birds po ay walang teeth. Instead, they have beaks. Ito yung ginagamit nila for feeding. And there are different shapes or types of beaks depende sa kanilang diet o sa kung anong kinakain nila. Meron tayo ritong 10 types of beaks. First is the hook beak. These beaks are curved and sharp, which is common sa eagle, hawks, and owls, which help them easily tear meat from their prey. Second is cone-shaped beak. This type of beak is short but powerful, which is common naman sa goldfinches, sparrows, and canaries. Inaalaw nito na makain or mahiwa nila yung mga hard seeds. Third is the short curved beak. This beak naman is common in parrots and macaws. Nakakatulong naman sa kanila to break fruits and nuts. Fourth is trained thin beak. Common naman ito sa mga bee-eaters and robins. Dahil manipis at pointed yung beak nila, mas madali nilang mahuli at mapitas yung maliliit na insects. On the other hand, woodpeckers also have strong and thin beaks, but yung kanila ay specially adapted for pecking or drilling into wood. Ginagamit nila ito para mabutas yung kahoy at maabot yung mga insects na nakatago sa loob nito. Fifth is long, thin, needle-like beak. Nectar feeders like hummingbirds have long and thin beaks na adapted for feeding on nectar. Ipinapasok nila yung beak nila sa loob ng bulaklak to reach the nectar. Six is the wide flat beak. Ito naman common to sa flamingos, swans, and ducks. Mayroon silang filtering system sa beak nila to pick out the dirt from the ponds and riverbeds. Seventh is the spatulate beak. This type of beak is meron sa wading birds like spoonbills. Ginagamit nila yung beak nila to scoop or sweep through the water para makakuha ng mollusks and small animals from the bottom of ponds and marshes. Eighth is long, strong beak. Common naman ito sa mga fish-eating birds like pelicans, albatrosses, and seagulls. Ninth is the crossbill beak. This type of beak naman ay meron sa red crossbill. Meron tong unique beak kung saan yung tip ay nakakross sa isa't isa. Kahit mukhang unusual, this is actually an adaptation na nakakatulong sa kanila to get seeds sa close pine cones. Ginagamit nila ang cross beak to pry open the cone scales, making it easier to extract the seeds na nasa loob. And lastly is yung multifunctional beak. This type of beak ay meron naman sa tokatukan. Ginagamit nila ito to collect and peel fruits, as well as to scare predators, attract mates, and defend their territory. Bukod dito, studies show that their large beak also helps regulate body temperature, parang cooling systems, by releasing heat during hot tropical days.
Now let's move on to the physiological system of the class Aves. So just like as humans, meron ding mga bodily systems yung class Aves na tumutulong sa kanila para mag-survive on their daily living. So let us discuss it. So let us go to the respiratory system. Birds have a highly specialized respiratory system composed of rigid lungs and about 9 air sacs. These air sacs extend into the bones, making the body lighter and improving oxygen distribution. So dahil sa complex respiratory system ng birds, nagiging way para sa kanila ito na magkaroon ng mas magandang oxygen distribution na nakakatulong sa kanila na gumalaw ng maayos tsaka makalipad ng maayos. Unlike mammals, birds have unidirectional airflow. So, ibig sabihin, isa lang yung direction ng airflow nila. Kaya yun, nag-happen siya sa two-cycle breathing process where air passes through the lungs during both inhalation and exhalation. So, hindi natin kagaya na human na pag nag-inhale tayo, nakaka-receive tayo ng oxygen, and pag na-exhale tayo is na lalabas natin is carbon dioxide. Sa mga birds is pwedeng sabay na mangyari yon. So, kapag nag-i-inhale sila ng oxygen, at the same time, naglalabas din sila ng carbon dioxide. Kaya mas efficient yung kanilang respiratory system kasi unidirectional nga yung flow ng air sa kanilang katawan. So gas exchange occurs in structure called parabronchi, which are more efficient than alveoli in mammals. Because of this system, birds receive a continuous supply of oxygen which supports their high metabolic rate and energy demanding flight. So, yung paglipad ng mga birds is very demanding siya sa energy. So dahil sa respiratory system nila, nakakatulong ito na yun nga, makalipad sila ng maayos, makagalaw sila ng maayos dahil sa kanilang specialized respiratory system. Next is the circulatory system. So, class Aves has four-chambered heart. Heart with two atria and two ventricles. So, just like as humans, since birds are found in the same phylum as humans, which is the phylum Chordata, birds also has four-chambered heart, and it has a complete blood separation which oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor blood do not mix. So, ibig sabihin, hindi sila nagmi-mix. Meron silang different pathway. So, it has a large heart size. Bigger heart pumps more blood efficiently. So, dahil sa pagkakaroon ng birds na mas malaking heart, yung blood is napapump efficiently sa kanilang katawan, kaya mas mabilis na nadi-deliver sa oxygen. Ganon din sa pagkakaroon ng fast heart rate, rapid beating to supply oxygen quickly. Unlike as humans, mas mabilis yung pagtibok ng puso ng birds kasi nga very demanding yung flight nila. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan nila masuplayan ng oxygen ng mas mabilis. Lastly, birds are endothermic. They maintain constant internal body temperature. So like as humans, kaya din ng birds na kontrolin yung body temperature nila. Like for example, pag malamig, kaya nilang ma-maintain yung constant temperature para maging mainit yung body nila kagaya nating mga tao. Next system is the muscular system. First is the pectoralis major or the downstroke muscle. It is the main muscle for wing downward movement. So itong muscle na to is responsible para sa downward movement o pagbaba ng wings ng bird kapag lumilipad. Next is the supracoracoideus or the upstroke muscle. Muscle that lifts the wing upward. So kanina si pectoralis major, ito naman si supracoracoideus, is siya naman yun sa pataas na movement ng wings. Tas itong dalawang muscle na to is naka-attach siya sa keeled sternum or the breastbone with ridge for muscle attachment. Next, high mitochondria produces large amount of energy. So, alam naman natin sa mitochondria, dito nang gagaling yung energy. So, ibig sabihin, itong mga muscle na to is very high amount yung mitochondria nila para makaproduce sila ng mas efficient and mas high na energy. Next is high myoglobin, stores oxygen in muscle. Since the oxygen is very important then in mechanism ng paglipad ng birds is yun nga, mas mataas yung high myoglobin ng mga muscles na to para makalipad ng maayos at makagalaw ng maayos yung mga birds. Now let's go to the excretory system. First is the kidneys. It filters waste from the blood. So, ganun lang din yung function ng kidneys ng mga bird. Finifilter niya yung waste sa blood para maging malinis uli yung blood. Next is uric acid or the semi-solid. So, unlike as humans na urea yung pinoproduce natin, yung mga birds is uric acid ang pinoproduce niya. So, ibig sabihin mas efficient ito kasi little water lang ang kailangan. Kasi nga important sa bird na maging magaan sila kasi nga dahil sa flight nila. So, ibig sabihin pag less water na sa katawan nila, mas magaan sila, mas makakalipad sila ng maayos. They have no urinary bladder, no urine storage to reduce body weight. So, yun nga yung nasabi ko. Kung mas mababa yung water content or liquid content ng mga birds sa kanilang katawan, mas makakalipad sila ng maayos. Water conservation minimizes water loss. So, kahit naman mababa yung water content nila, is gumagawa pa din ng paraan yung katawan nila para hindi ma-dehydrate yung mga organs and yung body nila mismo. Lastly, the cloaca or the exit for excretory and digestive waste. So, it serves as the anus ng mga birds. Diyan lumalabas yung kanilang solid waste and also the urine.
Ang digestive system ng birds ay very efficient kasi kailangan nila ng mabilis na energy para makalipad. At sila rin ay high metabolism, so ibig sabihin nito is mabilis yung kanilang metabolism at may kakayahan yung katawan nila na ma-burn yung calories. So kahit konti lang yung kinakain nila is mabilis nila ito natutunaw at nagagamit. Sa digestive system is divided siya into following parts: the beak, esophagus, and crop, which is the food storage, and meron siyang stomach parts, which is the proventriculus or chemical digestion, gizzard or mechanical digestion, intestine or nutrient absorption, and the cloaca or waste elimination. The first one is the mouth. Mouth is made up of upper mandible and lower mandible, collectively known as beak. So yung bibig ng ibon ay tinatawag na beak at nagko-compose ng upper mandible and lower mandible. Kapag sinabing upper mandible, ito yung nakakabit sa skull at ito yung hindi gumagalaw. So madalas din siyang tinatawag na maxilla at ito yung ginagamit nila para humawak, pumunit, or maghiwa ng pagkain. Halimbawa nito is sa mga carnivorous birds. So ito din yung ginagamit nila pamunit sa mga karne. Ginagamit din ito sa preening or paglilinis ng balahibo at sa paghawak ng mga materials para sa paggawa ng nest. So yung beak ng ibon is wala silang ngipin kaya hindi sila ngumunguya. So yung dila ng ibon is may rough surface para itulak ang kanilang pagkain papunta sa esophagus. Sa lower mandible naman, ito yung nasa baba ng upper mandible. Ito yung gumagalaw ng pataas at pababa para masara yung bibig ng ibon. Ito yung tumutulong sa pagkagat, paghawak at pagdurog ng pagkain kasama ng upper mandible. So, importante ito sa mga ibon dahil ginagamit nila ito sa pag-inom ng tubig at sa pagkontrol ng pagkain habang ito ay nilulunok nila. Next is the food storage. Pharynx is a common passageway for food as well as for air and is divided into two parts, the esophagus and larynx. So, yung pharynx is the common passageway ng pagkain at ng air. So, yung esophagus is para sa food at yung larynx is para sa air or breathing. So, the esophagus is transports food from the mouth to the stomach and it is the major site for mucus secretion. So, yung esophagus, ito yung tube na nagdadala ng food from mouth papunta sa stomach at ito yung nagsisecrete into mucus para madaling dumaan ang pagkain. And yung larynx sa ibon ay isang part ng kanilang respiratory system na makikita sa itaas ng trachea. So, ito yung nagsisilbing daan ng hangin papunta sa lungs at tumutulong ito sa pag-protect sa kanilang airway. So, yung larynx is hindi ito yung ginagamit nila sa paggawa ng tunog or ng sounds. Ang ginagamit nila sa paggawa ng tunog or ng boses ng ibon ay ginagawa sa syrinx. So, yung syrinx is makikita siya sa ibabang part ng trachea. Next is the crop. Crop is a storage part ng digestive system ng birds na connected sa esophagus. So, kung saan dito nila ini-store muna yung mga food bago ito i-digest. So, nakakatulong ito para makain sila na mabilis at later na nila ito tinutunaw. So, sa pigeons naman, ito yung may special function sila sa crop dahil gumagawa ito ng mga pigeon milk. So, yung pigeon milk is ito yung nutritious food na para sa kanilang mga chicks. So, nag-iiba ang size at development ng crop depende sa diet at feeding habits ng ibon. Next is the stomach of birds. May two main parts ito, which is the proventriculus at ang gizzard or ventriculus. Ang proventriculus ay responsible siya sa chemical digestion dahil naglalabas ito ng gastric juices na nag-uumpisa ng pagbe-breakdown ng food. While yung gizzard naman or yung ventriculus naman ay para sa mechanical digestion, kung saan dito nila dinudurog yung mga pagkain gamit yung kanilang muscles. So, lumulunok din yung mga birds na mga maliliit na bato o buhangin para mas makatulong sa pagdurog ng pagkain. Next is the intestine ng birds ay responsible sa nutrient absorption. Karamihan ng digestion at absorption ay nangyayari sa small intestine. So, kung saan dito nila tinutunaw yung mga carbohydrates, proteins, at fats sa tulong ng enzymes. So, mula sa pancreas at bile papunta sa liver. So, mayroon ding seka na may bacteria na tumutulong sa pagdigest ng cellulose. So, yung large intestine naman is mas maikli siya kumpara sa small intestine at mainly na nagdadala siya ng mga waste papunta sa cloaca. So, kung saan ito ilalabas ng katawan nila. And last is yung cloaca. Ito yung final opening ng digestive, urinary, at reproductive system ng birds. So, dito lumalabas yung waste or dumi at tihi ng ibon at ginagamit din ito sa reproduction or paglalabas ng itlog or sperm. Sa madaling salita, parang common exit ito ng iba't ibang system sa katawan ng ibon.
When we think of birds, we usually think of feathers or flight first. But another reason birds are able to survive in so many places is because of thermoregulation. Thermoregulation is the process by which birds maintain a stable internal body temperature even when the temperature of their surroundings changes. This is important because birds are highly active animals, and their bodies need stable internal conditions so normal body processes can continue properly. In simple terms, thermoregulation helps birds stay alive, stay active, and function well in different environments. Since birds live in places with very different climates and use a lot of energy, especially during flight, they need effective ways to either conserve heat or release excess heat. Thermoregulation is a major adaptation that supports survival, activity, and movement in changing environments. Birds are considered endotherms, which means they produce most of their body heat through internal metabolic processes instead of depending mainly on heat from the environment. In short, birds are warm-blooded animals. Their body heat mainly comes from cellular metabolism, so they can generate and maintain their own heat. Most birds are also homeothermic, which means they keep a nearly constant core body temperature. This is important because many body functions depend on stable temperature. Enzyme activity, muscle function, and nervous system function all work more efficiently when internal temperature is properly maintained. Because of this, birds can remain active even when outside temperature changes. This is especially important in birds because flight requires a high and steady energy supply. So one major advantage of endothermy is that it allows birds to stay active in both cold and hot environments while supporting demanding activities like flight. Birds must keep their body temperature within a narrow range to make sure normal body functions continue properly. In general, birds maintain a body temperature of about 38 to 42 degrees Celsius. although some references say that it can go up to 45 degrees Celsius. However, this range has limits. If body temperature drops below 32 degrees Celsius or rises above 47 degrees Celsius, it may already become dangerous or even deadly. This shows that birds need a very effective system for regulating temperature. A bird's temperature depends on the balance between heat produced metabolically, heat gained from the environment, and heat lost to the environment. Birds exchange heat with the environment through four main processes. First is conduction, or the heat transfer through direct contact. Next is convection, or the heat exchange with moving air. Next is radiation, or the heat gain or loss as electromagnetic energy. And last, evaporation, or the heat loss when water changes into vapor. So basically, birds are always balancing heat gain and heat loss to keep body temperature within a safe range. Birds regulate temperature through both physiological and behavioral adaptations. One of the most important adaptations is feathers. Feathers are not only important for flight, but also for insulation. Down feathers trap a layer of air next to the body, which reduces heat loss. In cold conditions, birds can also flop their feathers to improve insulation. For cooling, birds do not have sweat glands like mammals. Instead, they rely mainly on evaporative cooling. One common method is panting. Some species also use gular flutter, which is the rapid vibration of the throat area to increase evaporation and cool the body more effectively. In cold weather, birds can produce heat through shivering thermogenesis. Blood vessels also help regulate temperature through vasoconstriction and vasodilation. Another important mechanism is countercurrent heat exchange, especially in the legs and feet of aquatic birds, which helps reduce heat loss. Birds also use behaviors such as seeking shade, sunbasking, changing posture, huddling, and migration. And some very small birds like hummingbirds may also enter torpor to conserve energy. Lastly, thermoregulation is very important for both survival and flight. Because birds can regulate their body temperature, they are able to live in habitats ranging from cold colder regions to hot deserts. A stable body temperature supports important body functions such as enzyme activity, muscle contraction, circulation, respiration, and nervous system function. If body temperature becomes too low or too high, these processes will not work efficiently. Thermoregulation is also one of the key reasons birds can fly so effectively. Flight requires a very large amount of energy, so birds must keep their flight muscles working at the right temperature. Their high metabolic rate provides both the heat and the energy needed for active flight. At the same time, feathers help reduce heat loss, while circulatory and respiratory adaptations help maintain thermal balance. So, to summarize, thermoregulation is one of the main reasons birds are able to survive in many environments and perform high-energy activities like flying.
Reproduction and development of birds. So, reproduction and development refers to the sexual activities and process in birds, which include establishing territories, finding mates, constructing nests, incubating eggs, feeding young, and the overall development of offspring, from fertilization until they become independent. So, ito yung pag-process kung paano nagpaparami at lumalaki yung mga ibon. Kasama dito yung paghahanap ng mapupuntahan o territory, paghahanap ng mapapangasawa, paggawa ng pugad, pagpisa ng itlog hanggang sa pagpapalaki ng mga baby birds hanggang sa kaya na nilang mabuhay mag-isa. Next is the internal fertilization. So, the process where fertilization occurs inside the female's body. Sperm is transferred via cloacal contact when the male mounts the female, and the egg is fertilized in the upper portion of the oviduct before the shell forms. So, it means nangyayari ang fertilization o pagsasama ng sperm at egg sa loob ng katawan ng babae. Hindi sa labas tulad ng mga isda. Then, dumadaan ang sperm sa tinatawag na cloaca, papunta sa oviduct bago pa man mabalutan ng shell ng itlog. So, third is the amniotic eggs or the hard shell. So, these are eggs produced by birds where the embryo develops inside. As the fertilized egg travels down the oviduct, it receives albumin or the egg white and is eventually enclosed in a hard protective shell formed by a shell gland, which support and protects the developing young. So, ito yung itlog na may matigas na shell para maprotektahan yung baby bird sa loob ng itlog habang lumalaki. So, sa amniotic egg or the hard shell, merong mga parts ng egg. Number 1 is the yolk sac. Contains the yolk which serves as the food source for the developing embryo. So, it means ito yung pagkain o nutrients ng embryo habang nasa loob pa ng itlog. Then, number 2 is the albumin or the egg white. The egg white secreted by granular regions of the oviduct, it surrounds the zygote. So, ito yung puti ng itlog na silbing protection at dagdag nutrients din sa embryo. Then, lastly is the shell. So, a hard protecting covering added in the lower region of the oviduct by the shell gland. So, ito yung matigas na balat na nabubuo sa dulo ng embryo or ng itlog bago ilabas ng inahin or ng nanay. So, next is the mating and social system. So, refers to the patterns and behavior of birds in choosing mates and forming pairs for reproduction. So, ito daw po yung pag-process kung paano sila namili ng partner nila o ng mapapangasawa nila. So, sa mating and social system, merong 3 types. Number 1 is monogamous. Means one male pairs with one female, often for life or season. Both parents usually help care for young. So, ang monogamous or monogamy ay kung saan iisa lang yung partner ng babae at lalaki. At yun yung magkasama na nag-aalaga sa anak nila. Number 2 is polygynous. Means one male mates with many females. Males display to attract females. Females care for eggs and chicks. So, it means ang polygynous ay ang pag-asawa ng marami ng isang lalaki. Tapos, yung lalaki nagpapakitang gilas para maka-attract ng babae. Tapos, yung babae is bahala na siya sa itlog nila hanggang sa pumisa at lumaki. And lastly is the polyandrous. So, one female mates with many males. Females are larger, males build nests and incubate. So, ang polyandry or polyandry ay isang uri ng kasal o pagsasama kung saan ang isang babae ay may maraming asawa. Tapos, mas malaki yung babae doon. Tapos, yung mga lalaki na yung gumagawa ng nest at nagpapapisa. So, next is number 4, which is nesting behavior. Means refers to the species specific activities involved in preparing place for eggs and young. It includes site selection, nest construction, usually initiated by the female, incubation, and maintaining the proper temperature, which means 33 to 37 Celsius, necessary for the eggs to develop. So, ito daw po yung ginagawa nila para makapaganda sa pagiging parent para sa anak nila. So, sa nesting behavior, merong key activities and terms. Number 1 is the clutch. Means the group of eggs laid by a female. Ito yung tawag sa group na maraming itlog na nilalagay sa nest. The number 2 is the incubation. So, maintaining the eggs at a temperature of 33 Celsius to 37 Celsius. Eggs are turned regularly to prevent the embryo from sticking. So, ito daw po yung pag-upo o pagpapainit sa itlog ng mga nanay. Then, kailangan na sa tamang temperature like 33 to 37 Celsius para mabuo yung embryo sa loob ng itlog. Then, binabalik-balikan din nila yung itlog para hindi dumikit yung embryo sa shell. So, next is the parental care. Means the behavior of parents to protect, feed, and raise their young or offspring. This includes incubating eggs, brooding, and providing food. Often by regurgitation, it ensures the survival of the young until they are able to live independently. So, sa parental care, ito daw po yung pag-process kung saan na napisa na yung itlog. Then, doon na nag-i-start na alagaan ng parent or ng nanay yung mga anak niya or yung sisiyo. Then, doon yun na kinapakain, tinuturuan, lahat-lahat hanggang sa lumaki yung sisiyo at maging independent. Then, meron naman ding mga nanay na hindi nag-aalaga ng mga anak nila. Like yung cuckoo bird or yung kukuk, so they practice brood parasitism. So, inilalagay nila yung itlog nila sa pugad ng ibang ibon or ibang nanay. Then, hinahayaan nila yung ibang ibon na mag-incubate at magpalaki sa baby nila. Then, meron din yung Malaya bird. So, they do not use body heat for incubation. So, ibinabaon lang nila yung itlog or yung baby nila sa buhangin o sa ilalim ng lupa. Then, umaasa lang sila sa init ng lupa o araw para mapainit at mapisa yung itlog nila. Then, pagkapisa is, kanya-kanya na yung mga baby manilyo na magpabuhay sa sarili niya. Like, sila na bahala kung paano nila bubuhayin yung sarili niya kasi hindi na sila inaalaga ng nanay nila.
Diversity of birds. The class Aves is divided into two main groups, Paleognathae and Neognathae. Paleognathae includes flightless birds like ostriches and emus, while Neognathae includes all other modern birds. So, first is we have Paleognathae, modern birds with ancestral Ascosaurian palate, ratites, kiwis with unkilled sternum, and tinamous with killed sternum. Ito yung mga characteristics nila. They are flightless birds, large in size, powerful legs, and they have vertical wings. Ito yung different orders ng Paleognathae. So, first is we have Struthioniformes, or yung ostrich. They are large, flightless birds with powerful legs, long necks, and reduced wings, adapted for running and living in open habitats. So, they are the largest birds species. Native ito sa Africa at syempre may powerful legs for running at mayroon din silang mahabang leeg. Next is we have Apterygiformes, or yung mga kiwis. They are small, flightless birds with hair-like feathers, long beaks, and strong legs, adapted for nocturnal foraging and living in New Zealand's forests. So, ito daw yung maliliit na ibon na hindi nakakalipad. Meron din silang strong legs at sila ay nakatira sa forest ng New Zealand. So, Last is we have Tinamiformes. They are ground-dwelling birds with compact bodies, short wings, and strong legs capable of swift running and found in Central and South Africa's diverse habitats. So, yung Tinamiformes po ay isa ring flightless bird. May maiksi silang pakpak at may strong legs din sila. And sila daw ay capable of swift running and sila ay makikita sa Central and South Africa. So, ang next major group natin ay ang Neognathei. Modern birds with flexible palate. Ito naman yung mga birds na nakakalipad. Meron silang diverse beak shapes and sizes. Also yung advanced wing structures. Ito naman yung different orders ng Neognathei. First is we have Anseriformes. They have unique webbed feet that help them swim and wade in water with ease. Their feathers have a special waterproof coating, keeping them dry and warm in cold water. Ito yung mga birds na usually nakikita natin sa tubig. Meron kasi silang unique na mga paa na nag-help sa kanila para mag-swim at lumutang sa tubig. And especially yung balahibo nila ay waterproof. Para kahit malamig ang tubig, ito yung nagsisilbing jacket nila. Next is we have Galliformes. So next is yung Galliformes nga. They have strong legs and feet adapted for scratching and running, allowing them to forage for food on the ground. They have compact, rounded wings suited for short, explosive flights, often used for escape or display purposes. So, itong mga birds na ito ay sila yung madalas naghahalukay sa lupa para maghanap ng pagkain. Nagagawa nila yan because of their strong legs and feet. Meron raw silang rounded wings na capable lang for short flights at madalas ginagamit nila para makatakas or for display purposes. Next is we have Speniskiformes. They have flipper-like wings adapted for swimming and diving in water, making them highly efficient aquatic hunters. And ito yung mga penguins naman. Next is we have Ponycopteriformes. They have flipper-like wings adapted for swimming and diving in water, making them highly efficient aquatic hunters. They have uniquely shaped beaks with specialized filters that allow them to feed on small aquatic organisms such as brine shrimp and algae. Next is yung Pelicaniformes. They have distinctive beak structures and often possess pouches or specialized feeding adaptations that enable them to catch and eat fish and other aquatic prey efficiently. Next is yung Procellariiformes. They have tube-like nostrils on top of their beaks that help them detect and excrete excess salt, allowing them to thrive in marine environments. Next is we have Accipitriformes. Possess sharp, hooked talons and beaks, and exceptional visions, making them highly effective predators and scavengers. Next is we have Suliformes. They have adaptations for aquatic life, such as webbed feet and often a lack of external nostrils, making them well suited for diving and catching fish in the ocean. Falconiformes. They are characterized by their pointed wings, exceptional speed, and sharp beaks with a distinctive notch, making them agile and powerful aerial hunters. Next is yung Charadriiformes. They often have long legs, slender bills, and adaptations for wading and feeding in shallow waters or on beaches. Next is yung Strigiformes. They are distinguished by their large, forward-facing eyes, silent flight, and exceptional night vision, making them highly effective nocturnal predators. Include dito yung mga owls, di ba? Usually nakikita natin sila pag gabi lang. Next is yung Caprimogiformes. They are characterized by their nocturnal habits, cryptic plumage, and wide mouths, allowing them to catch insects in mid-air with ease. So sila daw po yung may mga malalawak na mga bunganga para kahit yung mga nasa air na mga insects is makain nila. So next is we have Apodiformes. They are known for their incredibly fast wing beats, compact bodies, and specialized feet, making them agile aerial feeders and capable of remarkable flight maneuvers. So next is we also have Coraciiformes. They are often brightly colored birds with large heads, long bills, and sometimes distinctive crest or tail feathers, adapted for catching prey like fish or insects in mid-air. Sila yung parang mga magagaling manghuli ng mga fish or iba't ibang klase ng insekto. Next is also we have Pisiformes. They are characterized by their strong, chisel-like beaks and zygodactyl feet, adaptations that enable them to climb trees and feed on insects, fruits, and nectar. Last is we have Passeriformes. They are the largest bird order, is characterized by its diverse species, often with perching abilities, varied beak shapes, and complex vocal organs, allowing for intricate songs and widespread adaptability.
Adaptive radiation in bird zoology is a process where a single ancestral bird species evolves into many different species, each adapted to different environments or ways of life. A classic example is the Darwin's finches, found in the Galapagos Islands. These birds all came from one ancestor, but over time they developed different beak shapes and sizes depending on their food. Some eat seeds, other insects, and some even feed on cactus. Why it happens? Different habitats or environments, availability of new food sources, and less competition. Geographic isolation like islands. So adaptive radiation show how species evolve and diversify. It helps explain biodiversity and how animals like birds can quickly change to survive in new environments. So in short, adaptive radiation in birds is when one bird species evolves into many types with different features to survive in different habitats.
Now let us proceed to the different ecological importance of aves or birds. So the first one is the regulation of animal population. Birds control the population of rodents, rabbits, reptiles, and small mammals. And also, birds prevents the overgrazing and habitat degradation by keeping herbivore numbers in check. So meron tayo dito yung tinatawag nating na predator and prey relationship. So ito mga ibon na to that have the main diet of other animals or ang main diet nila is other animals, we call them raptors, no? So, ang nangyayari dito kasi kapag nagkaroon ng tinatawag natin na population explosion at lower levels of the food web or food chain is pag dumami sila is meron tayo yung tinatawag na overgrazing and habitat degradation. So itong mga raptors natin na to, sila yung nagko-control sa population ng mga animals na to by consuming them, no? So kinakain nila sila para makip yung numbers nila in a way na hindi naman sila mai-extinct, but yung sakto lang for that ecosystem or for that habitat na para hindi ma-drain yung certain resources. So we have here 3 examples, no, ng ating raptors which are endemic to the Philippines. First one is the Phytogopaga jeffregi or the Philippine monkey-eating eagle. Second is the Philippine eagle owl or the Bubo philippensis. And then the Philippine hawk eagle or lawin. These are apex mesopredators, or they are mesopredators in many ecosystems that regulates animal population. Next, we have the marine and aquatic ecosystem balance. So seabirds such as albatross, petrels, gannets, penguins, brown boobies, and Philippine terns transport marine nutrients to terrestrial system via guano. So ano nga ba itong si guano? So si guano is a very nutrient-rich feces, or ito yung pupo ng mga seabirds natin. So bakit ka ba siya nutrient-rich? Kasi nga yung ang pinaka-diet ng mga seabirds natin is fishes. So kapag nag-migrate na sila or after nilang pumunta dun sa kanilang hunting grounds or sa sea or ocean, pag pumunta na sila sa kanilang terrestrial habitat is etong mga pupo na to, it fertilizes the ground or it enriches the soil and supports the growth of plants, no? Yun si guano. And next, we have wading birds such as herons, and the one that you can see in the picture, yung kulay puti, is the cattle egret or tagak na very common na nakikita natin sa ating surrounding. They regulate fish and amphibian population in wetlands. It is also the same from raptors, but ang difference naman is sila yung nagko-control ng population of animal, fishes, insects, or etc. doon sa ating wetlands or sa ponds, sa rivers. Doon naman yung kanilang habitat. Next is waterfowl contributes to aquatic sea dispersal and wetland plant diversity. An example of this is the Philippine duck. Yung Philippine duck natin is hindi lang naman fishes, hindi lang naman snails ang kinukonsume, but it also consume plant and fruits. So kapag nag-consume siya ng fruit, tapos it travels long distance, no? So kapag nag-poop na siya, is doon na magpo-proliferate or doon naman lalago yung kinonsume niyang fruit. Doon na lalaki yung certain plant na yon. And next is seabirds serve as indicator species for ocean health and fish stock abundance. So etong is makikita natin to mostly tuwing breeding season ng mga seabirds, no? So kapag kapag very abundant ang fish, makikita natin sa mga hatchlings ng mga seabirds na to is they are very strong. Mataas yung survivability nila into adult. On the other hand naman, kapag polluted na yung ocean, tapos nagkakaroon na ng overfishing, tapos napakaunti na ng isda sa ocean or seas natin, is we can observe or the scientists can observe na napakataas ng mortality rates ng mga seabirds, ng mga sisiw ng seabirds na because they can support them to grow and develop. And kapag onti na tong mga diet nilang isda, is makikita natin napakakaunti na rin nila dun sa habitat nila. Because di na sila kayang isupport ng fishes yung maraming population ng mga seabirds na ito. Next is we have birds as insect and pest controls. So birds are natural suppression of agricultural pests and helps to reduce our reliance on chemical pesticide. According to many studies, it is estimated that around 400 to 500 million tons of insects are consumed globally by birds per year. So we call these birds that consume mainly insects, we call them insectivorous birds, such as warbles, Eurasian tree sparrow, flycatchers, the Philippine pygmy woodpecker that is endemic here in the Philippines, also the oriental honey buzzard that consume billions of insects daily. So itong mga ibon na to, they help to regulate yung mga insects, lalong-lalo na sa agricultural land natin, no? So they consume them and eat them para to keep their population or to keep their numbers at check. So okay, a fun fact lang din, the Eurasian tree sparrow kasi they can also be found in China. So ang pinaka main staple ng Asia as we all know is rice, and napansin nila that this Eurasian tree sparrow consume a certain amount of palay, no? So sabi nila, bakit di natin huliin tong mga Eurasian tree sparrow at patayin? Kasi nga yung kinakain nilang palay is pwede pa nating ipakain sa family natin. So they kill, no? Nagpasa sila ng batas to kill these birds. And it resulted, little did they know, it resulted to devastating consequences. Kasi lumaganap yung mga pests, yung mga insect that destroyed their agricultural land. And it is too late for them to realize kung gaano ka-importante itong ibon na to, kung gaano siya ka-vital, specifically the Eurasian tree sparrow, to control the pests. And ang nangyari dito is it resulted to famine or taggutom. Ang daming namatay nun. And I think it is somewhere in provinces of China. And doon nila na-realize na I think we should stop poaching and killing Eurasian tree sparrow. No? And they also try to import these birds from their neighboring country para lang masuppress yung insects that damages their agricultural land. Doon nila na-realize kung gaano ba kahalaga yung birds sa ecosystem natin. Next, we have scavenging and nutrient cycling. So birds prevent the spread of diseases including anthrax, rabies, and botulism. And they also return nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus to the soil through droppings and carcass breakdown. An example of scavenging birds are vulture, condors, and Corvus philippinus, or the Philippine crow, and serve as nature's primary sanitation crew, rapidly consuming carcasses. So, ang pinaka-diet kasi ng mga scavengers natin is yung mga carcasses of dead animals. Itong mga, they are very important, itong mga birds na to, itong scavenger birds. Kasi nga, sometimes, itong mga carcasses na to, they have the potential to carry diseases nga, such as anthrax, rabies, and botulism. And kapag nangyari yon is pwedeng magkaroon ng community problem kapag nag-bloom yung certain disease na yun. Ang pinaka-trabaho ng mga scavengers na to is para mas mabilis na ma-consume and ma-decompose yung mga carcasses ng mga dead animals. And also, hindi din naman sila magiging infected of ng mga diseases na to tulad ng anthrax. Kasi yung anthrax spores, it can't survive in acidic environment. And napaka-acidic ng digestive system or ng gut ng mga scavenger birds. As a matter of fact, is around, nasa almost, yung pH level is almost 1 to acidity na. Next, we have a seed dispersal. So birds promote genetic diversity and long-distance forest regeneration. And loss of these seed dispersing birds are directly linked to forest decline and reduced plant diversity. So as we all know, no, yung birds, they are capable of flying or traveling long distances. So itong mga birds na ang pinaka-main diet naman is fruit, and we call them frugivorous birds. No, yung mga kinakain nilang mga fruits is kapag lumipad sila or they travel long distances, no, yung mga droppings nila or mga feces nila, yung mga buto doon is hindi na digest kasi. and it resulted dun sa pagdami ng species or pagdami ng tree or plant na nakain nila. And an example of frugivorous birds, we have here the critically endangered kakapo sa New Zealand, and also the endemic critically endangered Visayan hornbill, and one of the most common sa ating surrounding, which is the Philippine yellow-vented bulbul, no? So sila yung nag-excrete, sila yung nag-spread ng mga seeds of plants away from the parent plant that resulted to mas diverse or mas maraming species of trees in a certain habitat. So next we have pollination. Birds are especially vital in tropical and island ecosystem where insect pollinators may be scarce or absent. And they co-evolve with flowering plants and they produce a specialized structure. An example of this is a tubular red flowers adapted for hummingbird bills. So yung mga examples sa mga ibon na responsible for or primary avian pollinators worldwide natin ay hummingbirds, sunbirds, and honey eaters. So, as you can see kasi, meron tayo yung mga tinatawag nating isolated islands, no? So, maaaring meron dito yung mga insect pollinators natin is kaunti lang or none at all, no? So, nature has to adapt. So, it resulted to adaptation kung saan yung mga ibon natin, as you can see from the pictures, na yung beak nila is nag-adapt to the present kung ano yung abundant dun sa environment nila. No? Such as nga itong sa hummingbird, no? Mahaba yung tuka niya to get nectar from the flowers. And mutualistic relationship ang matatawag natin dito dahil nagbe-benefit din naman yung plant and also nagbe-benefit din yung bird. In what way? So, yung birds, sila yung nagiging pollinators kasi yung mga pollen ng mga flowers na pinupuntahan nila is dumidikit sa kanilang feathers. And kapag lumipat na sila ng other plant is napopollinate nila yung plant na pupuntahan nila. Next, we have soil aeration and ecosystem reshaping. So, ground foraging birds such as turkeys, kiwis, and Philippine jungle fowl or labuyo scratch and turn soil, improving aeration. So, di ba nga kinakaraykay nila yung lupa para lumuwang yung lupa to feed on insects and worms. So, meron naman siyang positive impact which is nagiging loose yung soil. So, for better absorption of water and nutrients. So, next, woodpeckers create cavities used by dozens of secondary nesting species. So, di ba nga, to create nest for woodpeckers is nagbubutas sila sa mga trees. So, kapag tapos na sila na gamitin yung nesting site nila is pwede pa siyang gawing second home or gawing siyang home ng other species of birds and even animals, no? They provide a refuge for them. Next is burrowing birds such as puffins, kingfishers, bee-eaters contribute to soil mixing and drainage. And birds as ecosystem engineers, they reshape habitats for the benefit of the entire communities. Kasi nga hindi lang sila yung nagbe-benefit dito. As we all know, they are all connected to food web. Hindi lang naman sa food web, but every one of them, lahat ng animal or organism is merong significant effect sa isang habitat. Next is why birds are effective bioindicators. So, the first bullet, we can connect this with the fourth one. The first is occupy multiple levels of food web accumulating contaminants. So, meron tayo yung tinatawag nating na bioaccumulation kung saan yung mga toxins or chemicals is naiipon sa katawan ng isang organisms. And it resulted to what we call physiological sensitivity na nagre-result ng thin eggshells, hormonal disruptions, and organ damage responds to rapidly to toxins and pollutants. So for example, meron tayo ditong DDT na polluted river or watershed, no? So merong algae dito na contaminated na din siya ng DDT. Tapos si algae is kinain ng fish, di naging um, na contaminated na din si fish. And then si fish is prey pala ni bald eagle and sometimes peregrine falcon. Doon natin makikita yung tinatawag nating bioaccumulation. Yung mga chemicals is naiipon sa isang organism and it resulted to thin eggshells, no? So kaya back that time is napaka baba or bumaba. There is a significant loss in the population of peregrine falcon and bald eagle kasi nga because of the DDT na accumulate sa kanila, hindi napipisa yung mga itlog nila or yung di nakaka-survive yung mga hatchlings nila. Next is habitat specific, tightly linked to particular ecosystem. So meron tayo yung mga tinatawag natin sa mga animals or organisms na endemic, no? So etong endemic is nakikita lang natin siya to a certain place, no, or to a certain habitat, no? So doon lang siya sa specific habitat na yung makikita and no, wala na sa other parts of the world. An example of this is the Pithecopaga jeffreyi or the Philippine monkey-eating eagle. Nakikita lang natin siya dito sa Philippines and hindi na siya nagso-survive or we can di na tayo pwedeng makakita ng other monkey-eating eagle sa other continents or sa other countries. That is habitat specific. Sa isang habitat lang sila nagsusurvive. Next is migratory behavior. Cross-border movement exposes them to wide range of environmental stressors, reflecting threats across entire flyways. So yung mga migratory birds natin, mas prone din sila sa bioaccumulation or sa accumulation of chemicals to their bodies. Kasi nga, hindi lang isang place yung pinupuntahan nila, but rather they migrate from one country to another. Kaya napaka-expose nila sa changes, specifically sa environment, sa temperature, at saka dun sa mga diet nila na nakikita dun sa mimigratan nila. Next is acoustic monitoring potential. Changes in bird song frequency and diversity signal shifts in ecosystem structure and noise pollution levels. So, meron tayo yung mga birds, no, na nagre-rely sa mga sounds, especially tuwing mating season, no. Tuwing mating season, merong special calls itong mga ibon na to. But because of sa pagdami na nga ng population, human population, tapos yung environment nila is pasikip na ng pasikip because we occupy their natural home na, and meron din tayong tinatawag na noise pollution coming from our machineries, our home, sa ating mga gadget, is na-alter to mga sound na to. Dun sa mga sound na to, so nalilito sila and nagre-result yon para, for example, sa mating, para hindi sila mag-meet ng partner niya. At saka naman pagdating sa nocturnal birds is nalilito sila. And overall, etong mga to is result lang ng pagbabago ng climate natin or result ng mga human activities. So kapag nakita natin or na-observe ng mga scientists natin na nag-reduce or bumababa na yung population of a certain bird species, something is wrong in the environment. May pagbabagong nangyari that they can't adapt, hindi nila kayang mapantayan yung pagbabago sa kanilang surroundings. That is why yung population nila is paunti na ng paunti.